Welcome to the first episode of Bank On It podcast, the podcast that you can bank on. I'm here with my good friend and partner, Sergio Triconis. And we have Justin Freshtat, partner number 2, out there in Vegas, joining us virtually. This is a podcast that's gonna be all about finance, business, successes, failures. We don't really wanna have an agenda. I think some podcasts, people come on, there's a list of questions, it's more of an interview. We want this to be an open broadcast. A place that, guests can come in, feel comfortable, and also us 3 to just bullshit. I think you guys would agree. We're doing this podcast mostly for us, for us to just break through, and instead of me having to call Justin and call Sergio and dramatize and gossip, we're gonna get it out in an hour, boys. We get 1 hour once a week to get on the camera, get on the mic, and just talk about, what's relevant, what's in the now, what's happening. But I think for the first episode, it'd probably be best for people to just get a brief background on who we all are. I don't think they need to know, who your grandma is and why, she inspired you when you were 5 years old. But who are we, right? Like, who is Kerns Capital, and what is the Bank On It podcast, and who are, each of us individually, and what do we want to accomplish with this thing? So let's go in person first to Sergio,
Sure.
Virtual guy. He's gonna go last. Until he gets his ass out here in the chair, but Sergio, yeah.
Soon. So I'm Sergio. I've been partnered with Cody for 5 years. I started my entrepreneurship route like 7 years ago, and like everything, it was difficult at first, but things kind of started getting better throughout the time and getting into different industries.
ChatGPT surge.
ChatGPT surge. You gotta be
7 years ago. I came into the space. Come on, bro. What are we doing here?
You gotta be up with the times. What do you want me to say? I mean, now we're running a hedge fund. This is something I've always wanted to do my whole life, and I'm very grateful to be here. And now we're building this up to
the last year, right? Where we launched July, right? We got in the finance space. We were in marketing for 5-6 years, right?
5 years. Yeah.
Okay, so we transitioned.
For me, you were
finance.
for 7 years, yeah.
Yeah, transition to the finance space. July is 14 months ago.
Right.
Okay, so what are we doing with the finance space? What's your role in the companies? Guys, by the way, this podcast is not going to be about our company at all. This is just a background on who we are, so you know why we're even here, right? Like, again, I want to reiterate, the purpose of this podcast is not about our business, but I do think it's important for people to know. So what are you doing on a daily basis for us?
So I'm the COO at Kerns Capital. I'm a systems guy. Like you said, ChatGPT. I like my things very clear, straightforward, simple things, and I create the systems from the sales process all the way to when an investor becomes an investor, and just make their life easier. Make everybody's life easier is really my target.
Yeah.
And making sure that the investor's relationship builds up throughout the whole time they're with us. We want you guys, or any investor, to be with us for a long time.
Sergio is the guy who will be anyone's best friend. That's definitely not me. It's Sergio, and he is the guy. And I think in any company, you need a Sergio to make sure that you have a happy client base, right? Some people are better at dealing with people than others. I'm very emotional. I take things very personal. I feel like you don't. You're very good at that. So yeah, 14 months. We've launched 3 funds, 2 in the works. So really about 5 funds in 14 months. We've raised, our AUM is over $20 million. So we're chugging along. We've had our battles. We've had, our issues in certain things, but grateful for you, man. And, 5 funds, obviously there's no funds without capital, right? And that's Justin. Justin's president of sales. He crushed it. This guy's just a fucking beast. We met a couple years ago, maybe a year and a half at this point, 2 years ago.
Feels like a lifetime, right?
Well, that's what I always say too. People are like, oh, let's circle up in 3 months from now. Like 3 months is like 3 fucking years. Yep. Like 3 months, 90 days. Do you know how much you can change in your life in 90 days? Like I won't even remember this conversation in 90 days.
It's wild.
Let's fucking go right now.
Two years ago, I was in a totally different business. Same with you guys, right? And the timing was just so aligned, and like that's just like one thing about the inside everybody's going to get to see is like one of the core values. Like if we're not having fun doing business, it's not worth doing. And that's just what we're doing together. It's so much fun. I just love it.
Talk to us though. Like tell us a little bit about what you do, and then let's get out. We probably won't really ever talk about what we do again. So brag right now.
Yeah, I mean, when I met you guys, I was in a transition mode. I've been doing the same thing for 15 years, building a boots on the ground business. It was incredibly difficult. I hated my day to day. I was looking for, a change, and that was a successful business we got out of. And what I wanted to do next was something that I just really loved to do.
What were you doing, by the way?
What?
What were you doing in your old job for 13 years?
Direct sales. And
What were you selling?
organic food, health and wellness appliances. It was, packages. And I was going door to door. I was a door to door warrior. I mean, I'd work 30, 60 days in a row, 12 hours. It's like that next commission. Like if I don't make a sale today, I don't get paid tomorrow. And that's a type of grind where you really have no life outside of your work. And I was done with that type of model. I just wanted.
That's really how we got connected though, was the food business. Justin came to an event of ours. I was like, I like this guy, he's a stud. I wanted you to do business with us on something. Like my intention was to get you as a customer, right? Because I knew you did well, and you ended up investing. But you know what sparked that though? He bought a ticket to our event, and then I bought a water filtration system from him for like $5,000.
We got to back it up, right? So The first thing, coming to your event, I didn't even know who you were. Somebody else that you were doing the event with is how I ended up there, right? And I knew I needed to take my game.
I apologize that you didn't know me.
I know. Well, that's the point. It's my fault. It's my fault. I was zero plugged in. I had never been to a mastermind before. I didn't think that world mattered. And then I was forced into figuring out my next step. I end up at your event. I buy the highest level ticket so I get to speak. That was like the first or second time I'd ever spoken, right? So you're giving me relevance. And then I remember on the yacht that first day, I walked up to you because I was like, I got to do something with him so that we can start connecting on a regular basis. And you guys did DM outreach for me. Remember?
Yeah,
That's
I remember
right.
that.
Yeah, so I hired you guys to do DM outreach for that mastermind I was promoting. And I was trying to build like a coaching business, trying to figure out my next move in life. And then you end up buying the water system from me, right? So we're both doing business with each other, doing that business dating. And that's how it all started. Next thing you know, when you're launching this fund, I was one of the first investors, right? I put my money up before the fund even launches. And then I go out pro bono, go raise some capital because I was showing you guys I was dead serious about bringing value ahead.
This is such a lesson. Like the lesson right now you're speaking is for any guy or girl that wants to go accomplish something. Just listen to what he's saying.
Yeah. Like I just did a reel about this because it's so important. Like all you have to do, you don't apply for this job. You just bring value. Like we're just waiting for someone. I'm waiting every day for someone to see that reel, go find one investor and be like, I want to make $1 million a year, and I'll give them the opportunity.
100%.
Love it.
100%, dude. And yeah, it's funny, the marketing, you might have been one of our last clients because at that time we had stopped. Like 7 years in marketing, we worked with, I don't know.
We had like 10, 20 clients at a time.
What do you mean?
At the very last moment.
Oh, yeah. But we worked with, I don't know,
thousands.
4,000 or 5,000 people. I mean, our email list is almost 6,000.
At one time, I remember we were managing around 300 to 400 people at once.
Yeah.
We had a team of 35
like 4,000 or
people.
5,000 people. And I truly believe, and this is probably going to segue us into the next topic, is how how stupid people are that they just don't remember things. Like history, like people already forget about what happened 3 years ago in COVID. People already forget what happened fucking yesterday when Dave Portnoy raised $50 million for small businesses and then is getting yelled at by a small business owner. People forget we have worked with thousands of people. We've done tens of millions in revenue. This is nothing new. It's nothing new. Seeing me drive a Lamborghini, it's 5 years ago. It's not right now. Like all this shit, people just really tend to forget within a month, it seems like. And that's why when I heard 3 months or let's follow up in a year, it's like, you're gonna forget this conversation even happened next week. So I think where I'm going with that is we see a movement going on, right? Like we all can agree there is a movement going on, guys, and you guys are watching it, right? Led by guys like Andrew Tate, some of these bigger names that are going out there completely disrupting the new norm, which is fucking bullshit. And you have these guys who are just speaking principles of life and being a good man, being a good woman, now being outcasted. We see that movement going on. I think a lot of people see it. A lot of people are afraid to speak up about it. And we're just following that movement. Who are we to start a podcast? I mean, we kind of explain who we are, right? But at the same time, we're just three guys that want to get on and talk about what's real, what's relevant, and beyond just going in business and making money, how you can actually make a change in your life, your thinking, the philosophies, the people you're spending time with. And for us, if we can just attach to these guys speaking that greater message, man, for me, that's a win. You know, that's a win for me. So
the movement is the shift of information. If you really think about it, the game has always been rigged against the little guy. The difference is now we have social media. Information flows so quickly, and the average person is being exposed to the fact that the president doesn't even run this country. It's Larry Fink at BlackRock. And all of this is becoming known. And people are starting to wake up to the fact that the game is rigged against you. And people like us are fighting back against that.
Everyone has an opinion now.
Yeah.
The amount of information out there is overwhelming. It's overwhelming. So isn't it kind of just obvious, though, to find the good information? It's what you hear and you're like, yeah, that's the truth. I don't think it's that hard to find the truth. I think there's a lot of information.
They want to shut down. Go ahead.
By the way, you talked about the little guy too. Can we just revert back to real quick about what we're doing in the finance space and how we're disrupting? Let's go back there for a second. You brought it up about the little guy, of how we're helping the little guy. We're little guys. You're a little guy. I'm a little guy. You're a little guy. Unless you're worth, $100 million, you are a little guy. And what we're doing in the finance space and disrupting it, in the post I put up the other day, pissed some guys off that work in traditional Morgan Stanley. By the way, most of the guys that work at JP Morgan and Morgan Stanley are broke. So why would you let someone manage your money that has made no money for themselves? First of all, I have money in places like that, but it's like a savings account, right? I'm not actively trying to grow my wealth by talking to my guy at Stanley that makes, maybe $150K a year. No offense at all. But what we're doing for the guys in the space, the accredited investors that are worth, a few $100,000 all the way up to $1 million, $2, $3 million, $5 million, $10 million, we're getting you access to private equity deals that you would never be able to get access to. The guy at Morgan told me, $10 million minimum net worth, and there has to be a sale, right? Someone's got to be willing to sell it on the other side. Whereas we get access through our partners on the cap table. We're getting private shares direct from the company, and then we can offer those shares at a minimum, investment $50,000 to $100,000 to accredited investor. It's unbelievable. We're going to disrupt the finance space for sure.
It's opening access to the little guys. I mean, how much is the minimum to get into these big companies? Like 5-10 million at a time?
10 million net worth.
Right,
and then a minimum barriers. So they're like, okay, your net worth's 10 million. You can't be more exposed than 8 to 10% of your net worth. Mm-hmm. You know that, right? Yep. Yeah, they have huge rules, regulations, and I think it's great. Like, I'm not bashing JP Morgan. These guys are the companies themselves are gigantic. What I'm bashing is that most people, everyday Americans, making $200,000 a year, most people are making good money that we talk to, right? I know general America's struggling. No offense, go change your situation, right? Like, we're looking for people that are accredited, that have money, that have worked hard, that are disciplined, that want to take their money and grow wealth, not preserve it. We want to grow your wealth through our vehicles, right? And the vehicles that we've obtained through massive partnerships.
Yeah, this is why all the little guys do real estate. That's your best shot at building wealth with what you have access to. And that's why the quote is very true. 90% of millionaires come from real estate. 100% of billionaires come from private equity, right? Because that's how you're going to get the biggest outsized returns.
I mean, look at Mitt Romney. He made $100 million off of private equity through his Roth IRA, right? So that's another thing, is using the systems, tax
use your
laws.
Roth IRAs to I put a story up.
Zero tax on that $100 million.
I think people overcomplicate the finance space. When you file to run a hedge fund, there's a lot of paperwork and legal work that we have to file to be compliant in the space, which then allows people like you to come in with your Roth IRA, your self-directed IRA, your trust, with no penalties most of the time, roll it over into our fund, and actually get a return on your capital, right? Through the private equity plays and some of the other offerings we have. But private equity is so simple, guys. Like, if someone came to you and said, I'll give you ownership in Starbucks, what would you say? How much? You can put in $100,000 into Starbucks, And when we go public with Starbucks, we're imagining it's probably going to be worth more than what we're selling it to you for. How's that sound? It is a no-brainer. Now, obviously, you have to look at financials and make sure the company is all it's made out to be. There are a lot of pre-IPOs that do flop.
Yeah.
To be honest, there are pre-IPOs that flop. But when you're partnered with a massive company that's vetting, that's managing billions of dollars, that's only doing 3 or 4 of these a year, going and backed by names like Anderson Horowitz and SoftBank and multi-billion-dollar players, I want to ride their tailcoats. And that's the access we're offering to accredited retail investors, just like Cardone did with real estate. Genius.
Yeah, it's disruption.
Well, Cardone's doing non-accredited too.
Yeah,
That's sticky.
Yeah, he's getting sued now for it.
You don't want to do that.
Yeah, taking like 5-10 grand from people. I mean, look,
$2,000, $1,000.
that's ridiculous. Like, what the f are you doing with $1,000 in real estate?
Yeah, that's why I don't like that to a certain degree, because it's like if you only have a couple thousand to invest, you need to invest that back in yourself first. It's not time to go invest in real estate.
No, 100%. I waited until I had hundreds of thousands before I invested my first investment besides event tickets and like self-education was $100,000 into Cardone's real estate fund 5 years ago. And I had saved up a few $100,000 before I made that deployment.
Yeah, and for all the haters, how's that investment doing?
It's doing pretty damn good. It pays me every single month. I'm actually really happy that I allocated a load of money there as a young guy when I was 23 to 26, because that money would be gone. And I see it all over social media, like popping bottles, doing this, doing that. It's so tacky and like generic for me to even say it, but it is. I've been trying to stay off social media lately, specifically because 99% of what you see is bullshit.
It's fake.
It's so fake. Like, what's real? Deploying almost $1 million into real estate that's paid me 6-7% a year for the last 5 years. You know what's real? The office we're sitting in. You know what's real? The homes that all those things to me are real, not looking cool on social media. But I do respect the guys that look cool, that are using attention to benefit themselves. There's a difference there though, right?
Yeah, I mean, it's become gross on social media. When I'm raising capital, I hear it all the time. And I just tell them like, oh, what, do you want him to look broke or do you want him to look successful? Like, what do you want?
Right. I just think people don't know how to delay gratification nowadays.
Yeah.
Right? Like all the popping bottles and buying shit too early. I mean, it happened to me.
Talk about,
it happened to me. Like,
I'm about to call you out.
Please do, because I've made mistakes. I've made a ton of money, wasted it on bullshit, and then when it really matters, either to buy real estate or get bigger deals in private equity that we're doing right now, I don't have the capital, I don't have the liquidity because I spent it on stupid shit.
Yep.
So that delayed gratification, we all go through it, and I think the biggest thing is knowing how to cut it right away.
Yeah.
Right? Like when you start making money, you're going to want to spend it right away. And the more you make, the more you're going to want to spend. But the sooner you get rid of that, it's going to matter in the long run.
I will say also, if you want to grow up and be more diligent with your money, you should find a great partner and be in a relationship. Yeah. Because if you spend all your time and money trying to impress, and I see people do this, you're chasing a never-ending cycle. And all of a sudden you're going to be 30, you're going to be 40, you're going to be 50. And that is going to increase more and more with our generation. It's funny when we see like 50-year-olds right now from our parents' generation that are kind of like bums or like just weird, like the guys out at the bars still in the club. That is a really small percentage of their generation because that generation works really hard. Wait 20, 30 years from now and see how many people from our generation turning into those people,
often.
Right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I think the income thing too is just, I followed something when I first started making money. It was put away a certain amount every single time you get paid into an account. Like if you're reckless with your money, I am.
I have a question for you.
Yeah.
So did you learn that from your grandfather?
No.
Who did you learn that from? Cheap. Was it Grant? But still, he was cheap. So
my grandpa was cheap. Yeah.
But
he's cheap, but at the
that.
same time, he's not.
He's cheap, but he spends it on the right things. See, my family
loves casinos.
My family is the exact. I never had anybody teach me that.
It's tough.
Yeah. So I always saw, mom or dad got a promotion. Well, we just got a new car, right? Or we just got a bigger house. But you probably saw something different.
I mean, I think because I didn't really have any leadership besides my grandpa, and he was there, but we had like...
Because he's successful. He was a successful businessman.
Yeah, he's 84.
He's still
he runs
working.
His business.
I mean, that's admirable.
we're like, dude, you gotta like, come on, dude. But it
you know
still
what?
keeps him alive.
When you retire, you get older mentally.
Yeah, dude,
you gotta stay
15
busy.
years ago dropped like $200,000 for us to go on a 2-week cruise over in Europe. 18 of us, the whole family. He's a beast. But I didn't have... So I was close with my grandpa, but not like a dad really. It wasn't like he and I were talking every day. It was kind of like the grandpa relationship. Right. So I didn't have any father figure or someone to tell me what to do. I think it was all self-taught of just knowing I don't have a plan B. Okay, a lot of people don't have a plan B. So if I'm making this money, like I don't have Poppy or Dada to go back and be like, oh, I messed up. Can I like take a loan? I don't have that. Like mine would be living with my mom and I take care of her. So what would happen then? Right? So it was, okay, every dollar I make, I have to take 20 to 40% of it and put it in an account. And for me, that was Cardone for the first couple years. I knew that if I just put it in my savings, I would spend it. So I had to get rid of it.
I know you looked at Cardone as a big
it was a
figure
delayed
for you.
gratification because I do believe in 5, 10, 15 years, that money will come back at a multiple.
And now on that topic.
It will, for sure.
On that topic, I feel like nowadays there's a lot of lacking father figures that teach younger kids the right ways to be, I mean, I'm talking as a man, right? To be men.
Yeah.
You know, nowadays I feel like younger kids are just not men anymore. And I think that's not okay. I think it needs to be okay to be masculine nowadays. Yes, I was gonna get into this topic.
Justin's like foaming at the mouth.
Because it's just too prevalent, right? People, I'm sorry to say it, but guys nowadays are pussies. They cannot deal with difficult situations. Difficult times create strong men. Strong make men create easy times. Easy times create weak men. Weak men create difficult times. It's a huge
You
problem.
had it. You almost had it.
You guys have heard it before.
Blah, blah.
But that's my take. I mean, I just think nowadays, like you said, it was perfect. 20 years from now, that's the guy that you're gonna see at the bar, depressed.
It's gonna be 50%.
Because their ambition is on the floor.
Like testosterone's dropping 10% every couple years and divorce rate is skyrocketing. Yeah. It was something like, I saw a statistic that something like 80% of boys are raised predominantly by women because more than half of women are single moms. And then at school systems, I think 8 out of every 10 teachers are women too. Mm-hmm. And there's nothing wrong. Like my mom actually raised me. I love my mom, but there is this gap, I think, where most boys wouldn't be able to go fatherless. A lot of guys turn out shitty when that happens. And then half the guys turn out motivated, right? Like I feel like it motivated me. I have like this fire of like, I have something to prove now. But a lot of people will play victim, right?
But you had that right perspective. That's the thing.
You made a choice.
That was taught.
It's that simple, right? Like, and that's everything that happens to you in your life. You decide if it makes you or breaks you. That's it. Mm-hmm. Right? But this testosterone thing's a real issue. I mean, microplastics, like we have so much plastic in our life. Like BPA is bisphenol A. It converts to estrogen in your body. No wonder we're all turning into girls, right? I saw that somebody talking about a study where if they inject liberal-minded people with testosterone, their views shift right. They take more accountability. They become more masculine.
Hold on. Are these polls real?
I don't care.
Who's voting on these polls? Who's willing to get injected with testosterone?
Me.
I mean, if it's free, if you give me free testosterone.
That's the other thing too about the information is there's just so much like, in recent poll, Joe Biden is winning the 2020. In recent poll, it's like, what are these, from what? Where, what's your sample size? 30 people from Brigham Young University? Like, come on. But I do agree with you.
It's bad. I mean, the whole climate's bad because they're like, okay, the information, there's so much disinformation, misinformation. Good. Learn how to filter information. Like, why can't we take accountability for everything? I want to hear all the lies. I want to hear all the truths and make a decision for myself.
Well, what's some advice you would give? we know what the problems are, right? I think a lot of people know there's problems, and that's why so many people have flocked to some of the big names in the space now, right? Like it's Uncle G, it's fucking Top G. It's like men look for role models, right? So what's the advice?
Well, number one, back to what you said. I mean, nuclear family is a huge indicator of who you're going to become. Like if you do not have a nuclear family, if you did not grow up in that, the odds are heavily stacked against you. But so what? Okay, like you're still born in America, the best place in the world. You have no excuse, right? So it's all about your perspective. I mean, my advice would be is like stop looking. Like it's good to have these mentors. It's good to, but like put a filter on it. Like not everything Andrew Tate says I agree with. Not everything Grant says I agree with. But have your own voice through their voice, right? There's a lot to learn from these guys. And it's like the government too. Like you need to understand, like the government hates you. The rhinos hate you on the right. The left hates you too. Nobody's here to help you, okay? They get on TV. They just act like they hate each other so they can keep their fraternity together, and it's us versus them. So if you don't take accountability for your life, if you're looking for it anywhere outside ever, if it's ever someone else's fault, you're gonna lose.
Yep.
And this is Fox News reporting. We'll see you next week.
Yeah, Fox drives me nuts. I won't even look at the other ones, but
Yeah, no, the news is
I
ridiculous.
sold my television. I don't have a television.
Wow.
Yeah. It's out of my house. Horrible distraction.
Yeah, there's not really... You know, on Billions, first of all, I go 6 seasons in that f***ing show for Axe to leave and Mike Prince to be
I
the
know.
fucking 6... I don't even... Why did they do that?
I stopped watching it after like season 7.
Why did they do
I'm
that?
on the new one. I'm on like episode 3.
Did he come back?
I'm not telling you anything.
I heard he did. I heard he did.
Episode 1, right?
If he did, I'm watching it.
Oh yeah,
Yeah,
it
I'm
gets
finishing
good. It gets good.
I'm
It's
finishing
just
the
like,
show.
why waste an entire season? I'm like, okay, maybe he's coming back this episode.
Personality
He is the show.
is the show.
Why did they get rid? I feel something happened in his personal life that he had to go leave the show for a
His
season.
contract ended. It was fucking 6 seasons.
I actually had a dream. I saw him last night. I swear to God, this is like reminiscing a dream about Axe. Yeah,
Mentorship.
yeah. Even though he's just like an actor, it's so funny how TV shows can.
I mean, you learn a lot.
Yeah, you
right?
do learn a lot.
Like
But
the personality of Axe.
yeah, no, he's.
No, you kind of want to like.
It's funny though because then you talk with real lawyers and real people. It's like a lot of it is a little bit falsified, but that's what makes it a TV show, you know?
Dramatized. I mean,
Yeah, it's dramatized. Yeah, I was just so disappointed that he left. You know, last night I'm like skipping through episodes. I'm like, when's he coming back?
No.
I called. I left a voicemail. I was waiting for your wife, you know, to call me and apologize. Oh man. Yeah, that was disappointing because you invest 6 seasons of your life and he disappears.
hey, that's kind of like real life, you know? People are going to disappoint you constantly.
Heartbroken.
And that's why you need to adapt. So Trump, joking.
Yeah. I mean, like, but here, I'll talk about it. I'll give you my thought process.
Okay, all right. Before we get into Trump, by the way, if you are watching this, I'm being serious. I'm ready to get into this. This will be,
Let's do it.
Trump's always relevant.
Hell yeah. I'm all for it.
If you are watching this, you have influence, you're doing something big out in the world, would love to have you here. We're in South Florida. Reach out to us. Get in for an episode. We have the desk set up. We got another room, couch set up, a little more lax. Crack a cigar. We got the cigars right here. We got the 23-year Glenfiddich.
Funniest thing is we don't really drink.
No,
It's just there.
only for show. But
That's a good topic too. Sobriety is a superpower, man.
100%.
yeah, it is.
You want to lose weight. You want to feel clarity. You want to do everything you want to do.
Get rid of all.
Who am I? I'm not.
I don't drink at all.
I think there's a balance. I think it's like anything. If you become an addict to anything, it's awful. But I do know guys. I worked for a guy, private business. I won't say anything. He has 100 employees. The guy is high all day, every day, and he's worth tens and tens of millions of dollars. I definitely know there's guys out there worth 9 figures that smoke weed and or drink alcohol. So I agree if it's an issue for you, but I also would say that life is only as serious as you make it, right? If if you can't have like one drink and call it a night, then yeah, alcohol is an awful decision. Like Justin, you're an animal. You would get one drink and be like, more, let's go.
Yeah, I'm an all or nothing kind of guy, right? And that's a bad thing, right? Because I can handle those drinks and still get my work done, which means like society doesn't think you have a problem, but I had a problem with myself, you know?
I think it's how you see it, man. I mean, for me,
talk to us about your problem?
Sure.
get vulnerable.
Yeah, man. I think for me, it was a cycle of, like I said this in my video the other day, is like, you know, the day's finished. Like, why am I feeling like I need to escape? Like, what stress was I feeling? And I thought it was like I had a really hard day of work and now I'm gonna have a couple drinks, right? And then I wake up in the morning, I'm like, I kind of feel like crap. Shouldn't have had those extra calories. Now I'm at the gym burning them off. And I'm in a guilt cycle, right? It's a guilt cycle. But like to the outside world, I'm still like that top 1% performer. I probably drink less than most people. I don't go out like to the clubs or anything like that. It's just me at my house. But I just had a problem with the way I was performing personally.
I drink less than everyone. That's what every alcoholic says, Justin. I mean, and I don't even drink that.
But I just think you hold yourself to a certain standard.
There's been some change, like the past 2 weeks, like yesterday, holiday, right? Normally it's like, oh, let's go to brunch. I would ruin the day. I'd feel like crap. I'd be doing this podcast. My face would be bloated. Instead, I'm at the gym. After that, I'm at the pool, you know, for the afternoon to enjoy myself. Instead of having drinks, I'm like writing content for my next post. I'm doing productive things. I'm getting more and more done because I'm not getting enough done so that I can go have those escapes. So for me, like this, sobriety is absolutely a superpower. And I made a decision that I'm just not gonna have alcohol in my life anymore.
You converted that desire into production.
Redirected.
Yeah. It's like transmutation. And I mean, it's literally a chapter in Think and Grow Rich, transmutation. He talks about sexual transmutation, which by the way is very important. But you can use that transmutation for any vice, right?
Yeah, I think like to your point though, you can be very successful drinking, smoking weed. I mean, did that for a long time, but it definitely slows you down, right?
100%.
Like if it depends how fast you want to go. I'm in a mode now where I'm like, you know what? Like I just want to go as fast as possible, 100% production. There's no room for any of that in my life.
You know what's funny? I feel like when you make a shift like that in your life, when you're feeling, I don't know, maybe you were feeling unproductive or whatever it might be, or not even, right? You just wanted to make a change. It's funny because when you're in those bad habits, a lot of times life is going really good. And then when you make those changes, it's because something happens in your life, right? Like you need a shift, something that happens in your life. There's a saying that most people only pray when something bad happens to them.
You start trying to control what you can while that situation.
Fuck, I lost my train of thought. That was such a good one too.
Well, until it comes back, think about this, right? Because like since I was in that like monster like 24-hour sales grind in my old life, the discipline was built in. Couldn't drink, couldn't do it. And then we get into this space where it's like, go to dinner with potential clients, meet them at the bars. It's more of networking.
And then when you get in the good routine, right? Like you've been sober, sometimes in most all times, the production and the results lag. So what you're seeing is from 90, 120 days ago, right? Because what I can say is right now, the last 2 weeks, 3 weeks, you're the most diligent you've been probably in a year.
Yep.
But the results aren't here yet. And I love that about anything someone decides to do is they want instant gratification. I stopped drinking last week. Why is no one just investing millions of dollars with me? I'm here, you know? Right? Yeah. Like I feel like that is another issue is the instant gratification of, you know, I went to the gym a month or, you know, I made 5 calls or, you know, I'm like kind of promoting it. I see it in any industry, specifically with sales. If you're not willing to go all in and embody that company, first of all, you need to go work for somebody. That's another topic no one wants to talk about. If you're trying to figure something out and you're not making more than at least 7 figures by yourself, you need to go work for somebody else. And you need to get around someone who has what you want and learn from them directly.
Correct.
Every time. I don't know why like the whole world is on this entrepreneur kick of everyone just has to be their own boss. An economy cannot work if everyone is their own entity.
Right.
It'll never work. Ego. You got to get around people that have what you want and I see it time and time again, even within our systems in every company, is guy comes in, a lot of potential, and he's just missing that little extra piece of being all in on it mentally, all in on it, dropping the ego, shedding the ego, all of it, man. Like, you gotta play your role in whatever it is you're doing, and that's how you'll succeed. That is how you'll succeed, is by playing your fucking role in the system and believing in it 100%. And no one does that anymore.
But that requires the self-awareness of your skill set and the no ego, right? Like, a lot of guys get really successful in sales. They're excellent at a very specific skill, and they think they can just go start a business. It's a completely different skill set, right? Like in the last business, all in on sales. I didn't go like, it's time for me to be an entrepreneur. I'm like, who's the guy where I can go take this skill set, drive revenue through his business, and make 10 times more money than I made at the last opportunity?
Right. Yeah, and I mean, and now
it's
you're
called being an entrepreneur. You're an entrepreneur within an organization.
Now you guys are partners.
Yep.
Right.
Look at what happens in a year, went from commission-based to equity-based.
Yep. But in my mind, it's the same thing.
It's the same thing, right? We got to produce, right? No matter how you look at it. And
if you're an entrepreneur and you're looking for something, become an entrepreneur. With that entrepreneurship mentality, you'll grow within the right company, because not all companies are the right companies, right? You could say, fuck, I'm an entrepreneur, let me go work at JP Morgan. You're never gonna be Jamie Dimon, right? There's so many people that you're competing with. Go to a smaller business.
If you go to the corporate route, I think there's a lot of information you can extract and learn to then go apply in a smaller business and get equity or ownership by partnering up and showing your worth. And that is the thing. Show your fucking worth. Show your worth. Stop expecting and asking for things. You remember when I come up, our marketing company, how many guys left because they wanted ownership?
A bunch.
I'm like, dude, you're doing $20,000 a month in sales. Like, I am the sales board. I'm doing $150,000 a month. You're doing $12,000, and you want ownership in the company. You want me to give you my revenue because you feel entitled. Dude, this happened probably 10 times.
Or they go start their own thing.
Right?
You don't have to ask
They
for
make
that.
a
You
lot
just
of
have
money
to
in a
become
year.
indispensable to the company.
Yep.
You fired.
Yeah.
Thank you for watching this episode. If any of you made it to the end, I'm shocked. Thank you for watching for 45 minutes, and we will see you on the next episode of Bank On It Podcast.
Bank on it.